7:27. Let's go to the Zoom room where troublemaker Senator Jim Moylan is in there. Hi, Senator.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Yeah, well, let's just say I'm paying attention and putting in my 2 cents worth on how I think things can improve, especially. And there have been a few things we've been looking at continuously, and especially regarding the public safety and with GPD. And we just recently, of course, finished the budget process, and GPD could have used additional funds with all their duties that they had to provide. And we know they have shortfalls in manpower as well, and shortfalls in equipment, and we have other measures to improve that, looking for solutions. But one thing our office has been working on since the 35th Guam legislature is allowing GPD to really have control over their budget. And one thing in their budget that they do not have control of is executive security. We've been asking some information about that since the 35th Guam legislature, and now looking at it in the 36th Guam legislature. Most recently, we wrote a letter to the chief of staff of the governor there, and we requested some information about how's the expenses coming along with their executive security. Right. And the answer we received was, we don't really control that expenses, but they're telling us they're being prudent, that they're carrying over the cost of their security. And why that's important, I think, for GPD to have control of is because GPD is paying for the executive security out of their own budget. In the 35th Guam legislature, we attempted to say, have the executive branch pay for the executive security. That costs the taxpayers, and it also has an impact on the budget of GPD. Like paying for your water. You don't get free water from waterworks. You don't get free power from the power authority. And why get free security? It's necessary. We don't doubt that the governor, the executive branch, should not have security. That's not the question. The question is, who pays for this? Of course, at the end of the day, it's the taxpayers. But whose budget does that come from? Well, that comes from right now the Guam Police Department. And if you ask GPD, so how much do you budget for your executive security? They may have some idea, but really they don't have, it's a blank check because this is not itemized in their budget proposal during the annual budget submittals. And that's something that needs to be done. So having it come out of the executive department, that was shot down really quick. My prior colleagues in the 35th basically said, this current governor is doing a much better job at maintaining her costs for executive security than the past governor. Well, that's not an answer. You know, things change with
Let's just start there, Senator. So they said that they were being prudent, but you were able to finally figure out the FOIA process, apparently, and you did a FOIA for the cost.
Yeah.
Did Crystal give you some pointers? Did she give you some pointers?
Sure. Yeah. Yes,
Ooh,
it's incredible. But I want to thank DOA. They did reply. So after that response from Chief of Staff and the governor saying, well, we're doing what we're supposed to and go away. So we wrote to DOA and they replied promptly and it was very helpful. They gave us three items, right? Fiscal year 18, 19, 20, and 21.
Correct.
18 was the prior administration, and their overall expenses was $1.3 million. And the 34th Guam legislature was all over that administration saying, that's outrageous. How dare you? Where's your expenses? It's uncontrollable. You don't need all that security and so forth. Well, new administration comes in, and in FY19, I guess, you can say they were prudent. And compared to FY18, it went from 1.34 to 1.17, a whopping $170,000 savings by our current administration. But what happens next, right? And that was the time I was saying that we should have this expense come under the executive branch and not be under GPD's budget. And I mean, of course, that failed. Again, Democrat control in the 35th Guam legislature. So what happens the following year? Well, the following year, we get into the pandemic, right? Things are locked down, figuring out how to do Zoom. Chris, you were always saying, stay home, right? Stay home.
Yeah.
But what happened in the budget expenses on executive security? Well, FY20, it went from 1.17 million to $2.18 million. That's $1 million increase during the pandemic. And if you look at the prior administration from FY19, that's an 86% increase to the past administration. I don't think this is accountability, and I don't think this is prudent at all. During a pandemic, for the increase in security or cost by $1 million during a pandemic when we're under lockdown, when you're not supposed to be really flying anywhere, but it did. It increased by $1 million. The following year, FY21, there was some savings. It went from 2.18 to 2.02. Again, still in the pandemic. And compared that to the FY19, that's a 73% increase. Prudent? No. Accountable? No. Again, overall, this is a cost to GPD when they need the money the most. I'm not saying that the security should not be provided to the governor, the executive branch, no matter who it is, but it should be budgeted in the line items so the legislature can provide the money, the resources necessary so the GPD can perform their functions for the rest of the community. Right now, it's the 6% of the overall budget is provided for executive security. And they're saying that they're prudent. So, that's disappointing with that going on. And we introduced a measure Bill 203-36 that we had to mandate this, unfortunately, to say, provide this in your budget, itemize this in your budget, provide reports quarterly so we can see how we're tracking this, and then let's do the right thing. Is that necessary to do? Well, obviously it sure is, because the current 36 Guam legislature isn't banging on their desks like they did in the past legislature over the past administration to say, hold on, we're supposed to be accountable. We're supposed to be the watchdogs. We're the co-equal branch of government, and it doesn't matter who's in office. It's just providing the service for the people of Guam, and that's what this information has put out for us. And hopefully this time, with my colleagues, we can move this bill forward, and I won't be making so much trouble. It's the right thing to do, and that's what I hope we can get done.
Yeah, so why do you think we saw $1 million increase in executive security during the pandemic? There was a statement that came out from the governor's office that said the increase in executive security is a result of pandemic response activities.
Right. Well, I actually have a longer statement.
Okay.
The senator does a disservice to the media and the public by using numbers without context to support his recently introduced bill. To set the record straight, this administration has less executive security personnel than previous years, which the senator may not want to admit. The increase in executive security is a result of pandemic response activities and the associated special pay, differential pay, and hazardous pay adjustments, which affected both regular and overtime pay for police officers as well as all other frontliners. And that is a statement from Communications Director Crystal Paco San Agustin.
Oh, they don't even give you the governor. They stick the communications director on you.
Yeah, ouch. Right? To me, nothing more than lofty platitudes. Right? A lot of fuzzy, right? How can I be proud that, or justify with less staff, I used $1 million more in my executive security? I didn't want to say that. They did. So it sounds like you're not being too prudent at all, right? And if you're wanting to say it's due to the pandemic, well, then help the department out, Governor. Give that department the money they need. Stop taking it out of their budget. Push that close to $600 million, which you don't want to give a report on, to say what you're going to do with it, other than, you know, little darts to some minority senator that calls you out. You know, do what you need to do. If you feel that it's important of all your responsibilities during this pandemic that you need to increase the expenditures on executive security by $1 million or 86% more higher than the prior administration when you said you're going to be prudent, well, then do so. And then use the American Rescue Plan money to subsidize the Guam Police Department. Don't drain them dry and then say what a terrific job you're doing. It's just hot air. I'm not wasting my time writing letters. I'm introducing measures because this administration is not accountable. This administration doesn't want to work with the legislature, even though we invited them. Right? It's a similar situation, Bree, you brought up with Mayor Jessica Alec. You're providing these services, Mayor. It's costing you money. Where's the support? You know, the mayor was very honest about it. He said, I'm going to do my job the best of capability of what little resources we have, and if additional resources come in, well, so be it. But the mayors need their money as well. GPD needs their money as well. The legislature has no idea other than listening to your folks' program and playing it back later on to find out where is this money going, right? And if I had to push to make it say where it should go in this bill somehow to identify it and budget it, so be it. And if they think it's not being honest and forthright, well, the information came from your director. You know, I had to ask the question first to your chief of staff. I was open to them, and he said, well, you know, don't ask me, ask somebody else. We're doing the right thing. And then when we ask somebody else, the right thing is that you're spending 86% more than the previous administration during a lockdown with less people. Way to go. You know, I don't see how I can give the administration a ribbon for that kind of action.
I'd like to arrange for you and Crystal, Pacos, and Augustine to come on this show together.
Well,
I really would, because if they're, I mean, and I just think it's just a bad look when you're letting your communications director, you know, loose on a sitting senator. It's just disrespectful. But I mean, it's par for the course, really. But how do you explain that, Senator? Because she's saying that this administration is using less security than their predecessor, but they're spending way more. So how does that even make sense to you?
No, and it comes from their top. I think their PIO directors take their lead from up on top, no matter who the person is, right? It's not about the individual, it's about the leadership. It's about how the information is top down, right? And no, it doesn't make sense, Chris, and that's the bad part about this, and I just really disagree with that kind of response. How is that helping Guam Police Department? Right?
It's putting you in your place. That's what it's doing.
Oh, well, I'm a co-equal branch, and I walk where I please. So, and my door is always open for them as well, and so is theirs. So that doesn't really. It's not about that really. It's about providing the service to the people of Guam, and that's what I want to do. And that's I think that the legislature's responsibility to keep Guadalupe in check, no matter who the governor is. Would I have done something different? Absolutely. I would even consider contracting this out. Can you imagine a company providing security services for 3 people in their house and get paid over $2 million annually? That's a great contract, man. You can probably bet it for 1.5 or $1 million. That's pretty good.
Maybe a cool
providing
meal,
that
right?
service.
Yeah. We'll get the first gentleman his drink and everything for the meal.
Yeah. And it's not pointed out at any individual person. It's pointed out, or it's made for how can we properly provide the services and watch over our budget, especially when we're still not going to be experiencing the general fund increase as we're hoping for until this pandemic goes away. We need to be really have our eyes on this and provide solutions, which is my Bill 203, to help improve public safety. We could actually be giving GPD additional funding if they itemize the executive security in their budget, which they would submit to the governor, which then comes down to be included in the executive budget to the legislature for the next fiscal year. And that's the main goal, right? And if they want to play the games of lofty platitudes and, fine. I can make paper airplanes out of their comments just as they made of mine. But really, we're responsible for the people of Guam and overseeing the budget. And that's my goal.
Right on. I wanted to ask you about this picture here that everyone's talking about. This you went to D.C. recently and met with pleasure to receive and collaborate with Senator Jim Moylan in Washington, D.C. who worked directly with our office to identify ways we can get funding into our villages. George Washington knew the grassroots, the people were critical to the cause during his time, and it is an understanding this during these times that we can navigate a path forward that unites us rather than divides us. And it's got a nice pic of you and the congressman there by the statue of George Washington.
Yes.
Everyone's saying this is like a is this a campaign thing? Is there anything to you and him running?
Well, I enjoyed that trip, and it was something I was hoping to do for quite some time. After the budget hearing, I wanted to go visit my daughters, and I did that in the mainland, and then I took my own leisure trip on over to see the congressman. And I think that's a good experience for every senator to do. And I did that on my own budget and scheduled meetings with our congressman and to discuss the American Rescue Plan. And I also had the opportunity through the congressman's being present there to take a tour of the Capitol. And that was a great experience. It's really fulfilling to understand where the federal government is, and and all the way back to Guam, and how these our federal funds are being coordinated there at Congress, and eventually it comes down to us. So that exposure for me was really rewarding, and I thank Congressman San Nicolas. And there's some other things that we discussed in the American Rescue Plan. I think that the governor hasn't discussed to the mayors as well. Bree, again, you mentioned the funding for that, and actually in the American Rescue Plan, funding is available for the municipalities. And I'll be meeting with the Mayor Alec this morning to further discuss this, and also with our Congressman Mike San Nicolas too. So it was very opening for us. Is it a campaign situation? I'm a senator. That's all I'm going to say here. Sure, it's all those things are interesting discussions, but that's my goal to be there was for me to grasp more and to be in that environment at DC, and with the help of the congressman. I certainly did, and I got to, we knocked on several other Congress folks' doors. Many weren't present because they're back at their districts, but we were able to talk to their staff. This is no virtual meeting. We went around, wear our mask and everything, and got their business cards, and I'm hoping to go back there again, because there was no partisan issues going on between our Democrat congressman and a Republican minority. But it's just about finding the more ways that we can assist the people of Guam with these federal funds and what's new in the pipeline. We had other meetings also with ancillary affairs as well. We learned about the tax refunds that were already rewarded, which I believe it was $72 million that came on out, which immediately we addressed a letter to the governor saying, pay these tax refunds then. I haven't heard a reply about that. It's the money is already there, and again, it's just being sat on. So we need more information, and without that being shared through our Congressman Mike San Nicolas, I would still be in the dark. I had a better conversation with Mike San Nicolas than having a conversation, finding out the basic things with executive security with this administration that doesn't want to share information at all. Right. So I'm glad I went, and I look forward to the following trip as well.
Did you guys talk about a new hospital?
That
Well, I mean, I know that was what the governor impressed upon with everybody she met in D.C. So I'm just wondering if anybody said, "Hey, yeah, you're from Guam."
You guys are doing that new hospital with that ARP money when you should be giving it out to the people.
Right, and I haven't heard the Department of Treasury say you can use that money for the new hospital as well, but yet it's being bookmarked for that purpose. But what I do see is that at least with the executive, right, they're looking at federal funds to help to get money through other federal grants and aids for that purpose. Likewise, our congressman is doing his efforts too. But in the ARP, the instructions from the Treasury Department, we don't see that. And I'm wondering, and I believe I've asked already the governor, show us your letter that you wrote to the federal Department of Treasury, asking specifically, can that money be used to build a hospital? I have not seen that letter written, and I haven't seen a response come back from the Treasury either. So, but in the meantime, we're just bookmarking that money there for that purpose. For why? Why, when that money can go into the hands of the people, when it can subsidize these other departments, when it can help the mayor's council reach out to folks to help reduce our numbers by educating folks on what's there to help fight COVID for them. Why? Right? It's not being answered. So sometimes you just got to be a little bit tough, and if you want to cause some trouble, but at least come up with some solutions, and that's what we're doing as well. We're asking the questions, we're recommending some solutions, and if the governor takes it and makes it her own, like she has with the All Rise Act, then so be it. But do something. Don't need to criticize me. I'm offering you recommendations. If you feel you need to, well, okay, I appreciate the attention, but it's no skin off my back. You know, I really want us to improve. I agree with the mayor's abilities to work well with together with the branches of government, and that's likewise what I need to do as well. And
well,
that's what I'm offering our support.
Thank you, Senator. Can you send me the Zoom invite for that virtual meeting with the mayors?
Oh, okay. Okay. Let me see how we'll do this. But yes, certainly we'll forward the information that we
All
got
right.
to you.
Thank you, Senator.
Thank
Thanks
you.
a lot.
Thank you very much. All right.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
I just think it's funny that the administration allows Crystal to tee off on Senator Moylan. And it also is a little strange to me that she makes 20 grand more than a sitting senator. I don't know. I think we need to bump up the senator's pay, obviously, or lower some other people's pay. 750, Linda Iban.